mental health has become widely recognized and discussed topic in today's world.
Is much needed.
There have been a couple of shooting cases in Texas as well. Do you think mental health is a contributing factor?
People always want to blame mental health
Yeah,
for these
yeah.
cases, and I don't believe that's the correct. I think at least research has proven that that's not the case in every scenario. If you're there 10% of the time for your child, then they turn out a rounded adult. And I was kind of surprised to see the 10%. And I was like, in my head, I was thinking, I'm a fantastic mother. I mean, kids make stupid mistakes. And at the end of the day, their brain is still developing.
What are some of the initiatives that Fort Bend County has taken to address mental health issues?
We have an amazing team in Fort Bend County. As a matter of fact, I already mentioned Judge Almeida. We also have behavioral health in Fort Bend County that works hard.
So what has been the most extreme case related to mental health you have seen in the courtroom? Or do judges receive any specific training to better understand mental health cases?
So the judicial conferences, there is a mental health conference which I go every year, and the county also had every month there was a mental health event held where professionals from across the board will come and speak and do.
Namaste everyone, my name is Shilpi and I'm the proud host of Safarnama with Shilpi. First of all, thank you for watching my videos and supporting my channel by sharing with others and subscribing. Your encouragement means the world to me and it motivates me to create content that truly matters. Today, I'm beyond excited to have with us the distinguished Honorable Judge Juli Mathew, who will share her insights and perspective on mental health and community well-being. I also want to extend my heartfelt gratitude to India House, the Hogg Foundation for Mental Health, and the Asian American Health Coalition for their invaluable support in shining a spotlight on this important cause. Thank you for joining me on this journey of exploration and awareness. Honorable Judge Juli Mathew, welcome to Safarnama with Shilpi. How are you?
I'm doing very good, thank you.
So I'm very excited for today's conversation. First of all, thank you for taking time out from your busy schedule
Thank
to
you for
discuss
having
such
me.
an important topic.
Thank you.
So before we start, can you tell a little bit about yourself to our audience?
I am the presiding judge of County Court Law Number 3 in Fort Bend County. I was elected in 2008 for the position, and my term is every 4 years. In 2018, when I was elected, I became the first Indian American woman elected to the bench in the United States and the first Asian American in Fort Bend County that's a judge. So it's been my pleasure serving the community and being part of so many different things. We are so privileged to live in such a diverse place and to have access to almost everything right at our fingertips in Fort Bend County.
So, Judge Julie, you handle diverse range of cases, including juvenile, civil, criminal, mental health. So, I believe no one can tell me better than you about mental health because you see these cases on a daily basis. Unfortunately, yes.
On the legal side, yes, we do see them, but there are definitely doctors and those who are experts in these. Fort Bend County has a great, our head of our behavioral health is Dr. Almeida, who does a fantastic job advocating and works hard for the county in regard to anything that concerns the mental health area and that needs work. She holds seminars and things. So I've been a part of this for several years now and have partaken in it. And I'm familiar with on the legal side what happens.
So everyone talks about mental health. In fact, mental health has become widely recognized and discussed topic in today's world.
It's much needed.
Yeah, it is. So before we dive deep into this topic, let's start from basics. What is mental health? Just define. How would you define it? Yeah.
I mean, emotional well-being. And anyone can have a crisis where they're going through some sort of, whether it be depression or breakdown, that they're not at their best, their very best. I think it's your emotional well-being is how I would define it. Mental health issues, I would say, is emotional, where you are emotionally.
Judge Julie, we often prioritize our physical health, focusing on diets, regular checkups, but we tend to overlook our mental health. Why is this so common? How can someone determine if they are mentally healthy?
I mean, all of us have our peak moments, right? For example, I know that I have deal with secondary trauma, things, cases that come to my court, people that come to my court, my own, you know, family members, all the things that we as individuals handle can wear us down. There is all of us have trauma, all of us have issues that we face that are our challenges that we face. And it's okay to take a step back and maybe have a day to yourself, go to the spa, get a massage, any of those things that can ground you and help you be a better you. Um, for me, I try to get away from leave the county or go somewhere else, go on, take a vacation, because for me, that's the only way to decompress. And for me, it is, I love traveling. And so I try to, whenever the kids are off from school, we try to take a trip together as a family, because when I'm here, I may go home, take care of them, then I leave. I have things to do. I have the court to handle. I have events to be at. I have, commitments. And so I don't get to give my family 100%. And so during these breaks that I take with them is when I'm able to dedicate 100% to them. And my time is not being taken away by anyone else or anything else.
Yeah, I mean, as you said, you always takes a break. So I want to tell to my audience also this, that please take a break from your work. All if we see the corporate life,
Hmm.
people are totally busy. I mean, from morning to evening, sometime they are finding a very hard time to balance their corporate life with their work life. Work life balance thing. So that may lead to the mental health issues. Also, we'll talk about it later on. So before that, a very widely used a term, mental illness. What's the difference between mental illness and mental health?
I mean, mental health is an emotional state. Mental illness is somebody suffering through, whether it be bipolar, schizophrenia, depression, any of those things are mental illnesses um, that anyone can suffer from.
Hmm. So if anyone is suffering from this, then do at what point they should consult to the mental health practitioner, or they should go for the therapies?
I think anyone can help be, therapy is good and useful for anyone. I don't think you have to go to a point of a breakdown or a crisis to seek a therapist. I think it's good to have a counselor or a personal confidant to be able to share what you're going through on a daily basis. You can always journal. All those type of things are helpful. Um, there should not be any stigma attached to this. I think before, especially within the Indian community, people used to sweep it under the rug, not talk about it. And even to this day it's the same thing, but I don't think we should. I really believe that if there is an issue, there's no reason not to address it head on, because how can you address something without attacking it head on?
Yeah.
I mean, I have a former coworker from several years ago that has gone through severe stages of mental illness and been committed. And his mother has no one to reach out to, unfortunately, and has struggled. And to not be able to share, I think, is the biggest issue that she has, is who does she contact, who does she reach out to? There's no support for her,
Sad.
and she only has this son. So there are a lot of people suffering in silence, and it's a very unfortunate part of mental illness.
Judge Julie, you oversee a variety of cases. Can you please tell us about some of the misconceptions that you might have noticed or observed while working on cases related to mental health?
So there was somebody in my court today, for example, and she was very loud and very, she was somewhat obnoxious, I would say, I guess the word for it. And my staff had to tell me, and I was initially thought she was on some substance, and my staff said, Judge, no, she has mental health issues, and that's why she's behaving this way. So I think when we see somebody with mental health issues outside or in wherever we are, we may not recognize that they're acting a certain way because of an underlying problem, an underlying health issue. So I think to be cognizant, to give people grace, possibly, and even with, like, for example, it was Autism Awareness Month, or the other day, and there are children that we may see misbehave or do things that are not normal, and to actually give them that, oh, they may have some issue, and not to judge immediately.
So, what are the most commonly cases you see on a daily basis? For the mental health specifically.
I mean, for the adults, it's usually because they have had some sort of suicidal ideations, or, some sort of domestic violence issues that happen when the police or the sheriff's department gets called. So it could be any one of those things that somebody gets committed into a facility.
As we talked before, mental health is often overlooked. In recent time, there have been so many shooting cases, especially in schools. In fact, there have been a couple of shooting cases in Texas as well. Do you think mental health is a contributing factor?
I think those issues are, there are times where it is a mental health issues, but I think more or less, I don't think they are the causing factor in regard to cases that have occurred in Texas. People always want to blame mental health
Yeah,
for these
yeah.
cases, and I don't believe that's the correct. I think at least research has proven that that's not the case in every scenario.
Okay. So,
So,
yeah, I mean, okay, we have the
but again, I think,
simple tag that we just put on the mental health.
but again, those are things I think a medical professional can probably, expand on.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
you know, kids that come through the system with mental health issues, the juvenile court that I created, what we try to do them is the counseling that they need. We provide family counseling. We give them alternate methods to deal with. If they're unhappy, not behave a certain way, break out of the cycle of how they've been doing things, so they can find productive ways to deal with their anger or frustration. So giving them alternatives help them become better individuals and better members of our society. We want these kids to be successful in what they do in life. At the end of the day, we want them to melt into society just like anyone else would, and to be able to lead their life in a in a high level functionality. Because I mean, we can't expect them. We hold them accountable so that they don't choose the wrong things. And if they do, then we come in as a court, as a judge, and try to correct it so that there is some way that they know if they get into the situation in the future, well, don't do this, but do this instead. If that makes sense.
Can you please talk about some of the programs offered at juvenile facility in Fort Bend County?
I mean, they have a lot of things. We have an art program for them where they draw and paint. We have books that they have, that they can read. We have one of our fellow Indians who has a mindfulness program. Sujan Shah comes in once a week and talks to them about what they can do. So we have a lot of things that we offer them. And once you go through if you by any chance end up in our juvenile facility, and Texana is our mental health provider, is our medical provider through the county. And once you're in the system, even into adulthood, if they have a need, they can visit a Texana counselor and talk to them. So to be able to give therapy, to be able to give the counseling, I think is an amazing thing that we do have in Fort Bend County.
Being a judge, your job is extremely difficult. And at the same time, you have another difficult job at home, which is being a mom. As a mother, does your job affect you personally or stress you out? And how do you deal with it?
So I can definitely say that all of us, especially on the bench, do have secondary trauma. There is no way that you wouldn't as a person, but we do learn to compartmentalize. That we, initially, it was a very hard challenge. There were days that a case used to bother me about something that happened with a child, or especially the juveniles that come in front of our court. They are the way they are because of the environment they grew up in, or something that they had to encounter. Kids that were abused, neglected, exploited. We deal with all sorts of things, and we're seeing the final product of it in our court. And there's only so much that we as judges can do because they are broken. But to at the end of the day, I think learning to compartmentalize is how we go about it. And also, I mean, taking a break sometimes, getting away from it day in and day out, not having to, at some point, that mental health break for us is also needed. For me, it was journaling. For me, it is traveling. For me, it is making sure that I get out with my own children and spend time and give the best possible. I think there was a conference that I attended that Dr. Connie Almeida put together, and I think it was a doctor from UTMB or UT, and it was, I believe she said, if you're there 10% of the time for your child, then they turn out a well rounded adult. And I was kind of surprised to see the 10%. And I was like, in my head, I was thinking, I'm a fantastic mother.
I totally get you. Sometime whenever I'm doing podcasts, so
I don't know, my kids may disagree, but
I totally got you. Sometime whenever I do the podcast and my kids wake up and they're like, "Mommy, what are you doing?" I have to no go inside. So then I'm like, "Yeah, I'm a bad mom. Am I a bad mom? Am I doing something wrong?" But yeah, as you said, now yeah, I'm a good mom. So 10% I'm doing.
Absolutely.
So, Judge Julie, given your frequent exposure to mental health cases, what recommendations would you give to parent whose kids might be suffering from mental health or mental illness?
Stay connected. I mean, have open doors of communication. Talk to your children. I mean, even when I look at it, I have to evaluate myself as a parent. I have kids in elementary school and I have kids in college. So there's two different criteria or requirements or needs for them, and to be able to, and I mean, we as long as we're trying, I think that was what makes a good parent. We're able to give whatever the best that we can. There are days that I am not able to give. I mean, there's no reason to feel guilty about it as long as you still make an effort to be the best that you can be. I think all these pressures that we put on about, oh, that's not Indian, or that's not how Indians are, or like all those type of things sometimes just have to go out the window. I so often, think of, for example, I have seen the best and worst of humanity on the bench. There is nothing that I have not seen or heard at all. I mean, I have seen really the best of people and the worst of people. So it just being able to talk to your child, have lunch with them once in a while, do something. Last week, my daughter wanted to have a whole day to herself, and I tried to tell her, yes, we're gonna go. There was a class offered for learn how to fish, and I don't know how to fish. Their dad was working, and I was like, we're gonna go learn how to fish. And she's like, and I said, what do you? And she wants to know what I was gonna do afterwards. And I was like, we're gonna get food and then go home. And she's like, but I wanted the whole day to be mommy and me day. And I was like, we haven't even gotten there and you're crying already because we're not getting the whole day. And she's like, I don't want to go fishing. And she had a meltdown. I had a meltdown. But we're going to fail as parents. But at the end of the day, I look at my adult daughter. I was like, well, she turned out really well. So maybe we'll get there too. This one too is my saving grace.
Yeah.
And initially, my middle child was actually possibly non-categorical possible autism. She was since taken out of the spectrum, but she still has some of those tendencies that she could possibly be on the spectrum. She's dyslexic, and so she does have some learning disabilities and such. So I sometimes there are times that I myself have to check myself, and I cannot respond this way with her. I have to respond in this manner. And so it's not always easy for us to be parents to different varying abilities in our kids as well.
In some cultures, especially Asian communities, there is a lot of importance given to food. there is a popular phrase that what you eat is what you become. So, what's your opinion on the food habits and if those affect mental health in any way?
As that, but I generally try to avoid dyes in the food. Like for example, my kids, we went to a party or some event the other day, and there was this Hawaiian fruit punch, and my youngest who accompanied me wanted to have it, and I gave her like barely minimum. Um, I don't know. I'm not a medical expert, but I try to keep as organic as I possibly can. I know that it's not possible for everybody. Even when I look at the grocery prices right now, it has gone up quite drastically. So I understand the struggle that most parents would face in trying to avoid certain things, but be the best that you can. At the end of the day, we can't control everything, but what is in our power and capacity to change, let's change that to help our kids.
Given that mistakes are sometimes made, so how do you categorize cases, determine the appropriate therapy sessions for each? Specifically, how do you decide which therapy is suitable for different type of cases?
A psychiatrist. So,
Ah,
yes, within the court itself that handles them. So the counselors are there. So in regard to the mental health court that we have, they're there in the courtroom.
mhm.
They have personal visits with the kids. The kids have counseling sessions with them. So these services are available to them.
Okay, so the counselors are personally assigned to the kids.
They
Okay, they
work with the
need
kids. They
to
have a
work with the
particular
kids.
counselor assigned to them, so that they work with to make sure um, that they have a personal relationship with this child.
So, how is it determined how long a kid has to stay in the detention facility?
So it depends on the severity of the case. They get, they're in the detention facility initially, and every 10 days we hear whether we can let them out or not. Depending on the case, depending on what the offense is, we keep them in the detention facility. Um, Otherwise, we let them go home, whether it be on an ankle monitor and conditions of release. Sometimes their offense is so great, we have to put them in a placement facility, which is like a boarding school type of situation where they're monitored and where they're away from their home. There is a child that I have currently in another state that I'm visiting shortly to check on her and make sure everything's going smoothly, and checking out what this facility is to see if we can send more kids there. Uh, Sometimes their uh, alleged crime is so heavy that we have no other place to send them other than the Texas Juvenile Justice Division, TJJD, and those are kids that have done maybe like aggravated assault or robbery or murder. Those kids end up there, and depending on how serious the crime is, then at 19 they may get transferred to the prison system, the adult prison system, and they can even be transferred as early as 17 years old. I had a child that it was a robbery, I believe, or assault and robbery. I can't recall the specific details, and several years ago now, that we sent him in a placement facility. He failed miserably at the placement facility. Then we sent him to to TJJD, and as soon as he turned 17, there was a request or a hearing that I had to hold to send him. TJJD wanted him transferred to the adult prison because of things that he was doing within TJJD that was causing issues and problems, including creating riots and throwing feces at the staff at the facility. So some of these cases are hard. I mean, they're all hard. I'm not, you're determining somebody's life and what their future holds, and it's not anything that I take lightly. But these are hard decisions that we have to make that do weigh down on me, even as a judge.
So, what is the success rate of the program offered at the detention facility?
I mean, we have had a good number of kids. For example, I believe our success rate is probably like 85% in the juvenile
Wow.
intervention, the
Wow.
court that I created. But most of the kids that we see, I'd say majority of them, we will not see them again. But there are also a percentage of them that we will see on the adult side. And it's unfortunate, but it is what it is. I mean, kids make stupid mistakes. And at the end of the day, their brain is still developing. I think males is 25 years old and females is maybe 20 or 23. I can't recall, but kid's brain is, or like a male brain is still in its developmental stage until about 25.
Okay, so Judge Julie, I have prepared a quick rapid fire round that will give people a chance to understand Judge Julie as a person rather than a judge. What does it mean to be happy?
Having things that I enjoy with me or near me, or having those things that bring me joy.
Is it okay to feel sad or happy?
Oh, absolutely. It's an emotion. It's a human emotion. I don't think any of us can escape from sadness.
Or being angry?
Of course, that's also a human emotion.
Why is it important to be kind to yourself?
Because at the end of the day, we are who we are. And, we always hear be kind to other people, but kindness is lacking in this world. I think, to be, take a step back, and when you see somebody do something and say, they're having a day. Let's just let them have that day. For example, today somebody was in my court after I talked to her, just mumbling away and disgruntled. And, I could have had her come up. I could have had the bailiff taken her into custody, all those type of things. And I was just, you know what? I'm just going to let her be.
How can you support a friend who is struggling with anxiety?
I mean, be there for that person, talk to them, ask them if there is something that you can do to help, but also, I mean, definitely talk to them about possibly going to a professional who can deal with it. There's
Can
not,
phys-
there's no reason to be ashamed to go to a counselor or reach out to a psychiatrist or however that you're going to get through that situation. And that shame that's going to, like, I don't need to talk to a counselor. We need to get over that. All of us need to talk to a counselor.
Yeah. Can physical exercise impact mental health?
Absolutely.
Yeah. If someone is feeling really down, what will be the first thing that Judge Julie will do?
I think calling or messaging helps. Like, for example, my time is somewhat limited. So if I know a friend is going through something, I may not be able to call or reach out. But here and there, if I think about that person, I'll just say, hey, thinking about you. I just wanted to check on, see how you are. So whatever we can as a person, make that effort.
Sometime a simple message works.
Yes, absolutely.
So, if we recall the past time, there was no blue ticks, you know. And right now, if we, read about the mental health, these issues also are there. Sometimes we are very anxious. Oh no, he didn't read my message. Oh no, she didn't read my message. That particular thing also, affects on mental health. That's a very small thing. The
Anxiety, for
notifications.
example, can even yesterday, for example, I was on WhatsApp and I was in a group and I hadn't checked the messages in like weeks. And when I looked at it, it said, you removed this person, like somehow removed 2 people from the group. And I was like, how in the world was my hand touching the screen? I was freaking out because, like, how do I remove somebody from somebody else's group?
Yeah.
And so, yes, I can understand social anxiety in regard to things that may not be in our control, or even little things every one of us struggle with.
Why is it okay to ask for help when you are feeling sad or having a hard time?
Why is it?
So I want to add one thing also here. Like, we live in America and we're from India, right? So sometime we miss our family. We have some hard times. Everyone has the hard time, but we try, okay, not to tell them, not to bother them. This is we will handle. But these things, it just
It can build up, just like you said. These things can build up and can lead to more problems. So it's better to just share and be open.
So
I definitely believe in being open.
yeah. Can the way you talk to yourself affect how you feel?
Absolutely. People ask me, how are you doing? I say, fantastic. And like I've learned to do this. It's a mental thing I've done. And even just completely off, but in the not necessarily on mental health issue, but when I was running for judge, people used to tell me that I'm not going to win to my face because just historically what has happened within Fort Bend County. And I used to tell them, I'm going to be the judge. I'm going to win. I'm going to win. I used to say this mantra all the time. I'm going to win. I'm going to win. And I remember I was standing during the election cycle, I was standing at a polling location, a voting location. And this lady just came up and started yelling at me. And I was trying to talk to this man and tell him to vote for me. And she just out of nowhere just came, and I just looked at her and I couldn't think of anything to tell her. And I didn't know what to say. All I said was, I'm going to win and I'm going to be your judge.
Aw.
So
That's the confidence.
yeah, something you have to. I mean, no one else is
Yes.
going to. And no one may be there. There are going to be points in life nobody else can pick you up. You have to be that picker upper for yourself. I tell the kids that come to my court, you're going to fail. Failure is inevitable in life. We're all going to have stumbling blocks, or we're going to have failures in life, and you have to choose to pick yourself back up. You may not have anybody else who believes in you, but you have to believe in yourself.
Absolutely. And you have a different vibe. You have I can feel your vibe here.
Thank you.
Very positive, very confident. That I can feel. Okay, back to our rapid fire. What are some things you enjoy doing what you feel good?
That I enjoy doing.
Mm-hmm.
I do love traveling. I think I've crossed over to like maybe 30 some countries now. I enjoy meeting new people. I enjoy learning new things. Uh, I love finding out about people, where they come from, their origins, what makes things unique, or I really enjoy learning about people, cultures, community. Being a judge, one of the an elected official in the community, I get invited to all sorts of things, and I've never knew, like for example, what Ugadi is, or I never knew what another festivals that people celebrate, or what even for example, when I walked in here, the only reason I knew to take off the shoe in regard to worship was because a friend I was at her house, and another friend said, you have to remove your shoes when you go in there. Like I would have never known these nuances had I not come across those people that are different than me.
Last two questions of rapid fire. What is it important to get enough rest? Sometimes we
What is it important?
exhaust
Oh,
sometimes we exhaust ourselves a lot. Being a mom, we have to do work, we have to take care of home, we have to take care of kids, lots of things are work. So do you think it is important to give a pause sometime?
absolutely. You should take a breather. Whatever calms you down, centers you, grounds you, do it. For me, it's definitely, I also have, my faith is also very important to me. I take time to go to church. I take time to listen to praise music, whether, worship. For me, it releases that anxiety, that stress, that even if something is not in my control, God knows me and taking care of those things for me.
And the last question of rapid fire, and you're doing so good. What's one simple message you would give to someone who is feeling unhappy right now?
I say step back and look at the situation as a whole. What is it that's within their control? What is it that they cannot control? Whatever that they can control, take charge of those things. Come up with 5 things that they can immediately do to change that situation or circumstance, and start doing those things.
Okay, so do you have any scheduled days in court for handling cases related to mental health?
So I have days, like for example, Mondays are my juvenile cases. I also teach at University of Houston, the Law Center. I teach a writing course. So Mondays I have my class that I teach, and then I go to court. Monday afternoon is my juvenile cases. So some of those kids may have mental health issues. On Tuesday morning, I have my civil cases, and mental health is also handled on Tuesday. But a lot of the cases these days, we used to have 15 to 20 cases, maybe, and now it has almost doubled of mental health cases that come in. But a lot of them, we don't hear them. They automatically sign off on a waiver to stay in the hospitals themselves. They self-choose. I had an Indian, I think she was Telugu or Tamil, I can't recall, woman that was there, and I wasn't sure, knowing our dynamics, because in the Indian community, when somebody says they have mental health issues, she's crazy, it's usually the husband saying that about the wife, and there's really not truth to it. So we appoint somebody called an ad litem to go and visit with the ward, and they're supposed to advocate for the best interest of the ward. So I appointed a guardian ad litem that visited the ward, and um, then came back and told me she wouldn't talk to me, Judge. So when I saw her on camera, I said, I'm ordering you to talk to this attorney. He is there for your self interest and making sure. And I also told him, I want you to go and interview both the daughters and make sure there's nothing that we're missing, especially knowing our culture. And they came back and said, yeah, it really is like she's refusing to get help that she needs. And I had to force medicate her.
We have prepared 5 questions which is related to our conversation that we were talking. So let's do this.
Okay.
So, Judge Julie, what kind of mental health cases do you see on a regular basis?
I mean, all of them, there's not specifically broken down into a category, but we see mental health in whether it be schizophrenia, bipolar, depression, we see all of them. So if they're coming, a lot of people, I only have to hear the cases if they're contesting in regard to staying in a facility, if they're not signing off on a waiver, because at the end of the day, we're taking away their due process rights. The court appoints a guardian ad litem who goes and visits with the ward and checks and sees if they're really having a crisis, if they really have some mental health issues, or are they wrongfully in the facility. I've had times where I've held a hearing and then have asked the guardian, go and interview additional people. I want you to, and there are times that people do not want to talk to the attorney. And I said, this is for your benefit. You need to talk to this attorney because they are supposed to represent your best interest and report back to the court whether you're really there for a reason. I think in my tenure on the bench, this is my 7th year. There are 2 times that I have released the person and not held them in the hospital because they really did not have a mental health crisis or did not have a mental health issue. But majority of the people that do come across or come through our courts are going through that crisis. In Fort Bend County, whether the sheriff gets called, the police gets called, they have a crisis intervention team that deals with it. And they then take them to a facility. Then the justice of the peace commits them. And then we do the continuance commitment.
So, what are some of the initiatives that Fort Bend County has taken to address mental health issues?
We have an amazing team in Fort Bend County. As a matter of fact, I already mentioned Judge Almeida. We also have behavioral health in Fort Bend County that works hard with the mental health facilities in the community. I also have a training that's coming up in May for everyone in the community as to what resources are available. Sometimes I think we talk about mental health so much, but never then give the resources that are necessary for someone dealing with it. So we have a training coming up in, I believe it's May 23rd at the Rosenberg Annex or Rosenberg Center for mental health. And anyone who may deal with mental health issues or who may be having a family member, or just for the community. It's open, it's free. It's from 8 o'clock to 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Anyone's welcome to it. I would probably put it on my social media page shortly, and you can get on and get on the link and RSVP.
That's good to know.
I think we have spots open for 200 people at this point. I think we're about 107.
So, does mental health become a factor in determining the outcome of cases you are overseeing?
So we do have therapists and psychiatrists who evaluate people to determine whether they're competent to stand trial. Sometimes now someone is never going to regain the competency. So yes, that is a factor in regard to whether to find them guilty or not, or have a trial in regard to their alleged crime.
Okay, so do you see mental health issues in any particular ethnicity, or it is spread universally?
I think it's spread universally. There's no particular entity. In our community, though, I have to say the stigma attached to it is greater than possibly in some other communities, and we need to break free of those things.
So how can we do that?
Each of us have to take an actionable step. I mean, each of us choosing to be mindful of it and to accept people for who they are and what they are. I think it's the little steps that matter. If you know of a family member, how can you help? What can you do? And recognizing and not necessarily, I mean, little steps. It doesn't have to be anything major.
So, what has been the most extreme case related to mental health you have seen in the courtroom?
I had a trial with jurors, and I had the patient or the ward who wanted a trial. Jurors that were picked in the jury room just scream, walk around, talk things. It was a very interesting case, to say the least. It was nothing like I ever handled it. So just jurors' reactions. I mean, when you have a jury trial, first you have, in my court, is in regard to mental health cases, it's 6 jurors. And so you have a panel of 35 people that come in, and what happens first is called voir dire, where both sides, the attorney and the county attorney's office, are trying to pick the best jurors for that case. And these people just had basic understanding of what's happening, and they had no clue why this man was walking around shouting obscenities and saying various things, and the court reporter trying to take all of it down. It made definitely an interesting scene in a courtroom.
So, how do you calm yourself down or deal with anxiety after going through all these cases? I know it is very hard to see these cases.
For me, it is that time that I sit down and my personal relationship, me being Christian, it is my personal relationship with Christ. I do definitely take the time. Religion has always played a role in my life to be able to sit back and spend time with my creator. And it may be for other people, it may be yoga, it may be exercise, it may be breathing techniques, it may be spirituality, it may be, any one of those things. Whatever that grounds you is what you should go to and gravitate towards to keep your calm, to keep yourself in the best way that you can. I mean, I'm not a perfect human being.
Of course.
I mean, my
No
my
one is
kids
perfect,
my
of course.
kids are the first people to tell you. Or my husband for that matter. But to keep trying. That's what we are. We are people in progress, work in progress. We're work in progress to keep trying on a daily basis to be the best that you can be.
So, to be very frank, it might be so difficult for me to sleep peacefully on a night if I come across half of what you see on a regular basis. I can see how strong you are.
I am just a human being, just like everybody else.
So, what legal rights do individuals with mental health condition have during court proceedings?
They have the same rights as everybody else. There's nothing that they have differently. Yep.
Are there specific considerations for juveniles with mental health issues in the justice system?
Yes. I mean, we hold them accountable, but at the same time, we get them the services that they need and make sure that they're, medication compliance is a huge thing in regard to and so when you have we have this program in the county called the Tacomi, which Texana works, and they do things, but they recognize the need for a judge to come in and be an accountability partner. When a judge orders you to do something, if you don't do it, there's consequences to it. Whereas beforehand, there wasn't. So I became the accountability partner when I created the Juvenile Intervention and Mental Health Court through our probation department, which has done wonderful things. I mean, we are one of the best departments in I would say, Texas and the country, probably.
Can you tell a bit about that program you mentioned?
So Tacomi is what is there. It's a program that you qualify the juveniles that come into the system with mental health may qualify for it. We have different programs, which is core is for girls and boys who may be sexually trafficked or exploited. Mine is the mental health program. There's drug courts that the county has drug specific programs, also well as alcohol. There's a veterans courts because they have crises and issues that may only apply to them. So mine is the Juvenile Intervention and Mental Health Court. that a juvenile in the system with mental health will qualify into. And for the rest of the time that they're in the system during their probationary period, they see me once a month, they see the counselor once or twice a week or upon needed, and they have contact with the probation officer that's specifically assigned to them who may check on them, whether it be in school or in their home. I have even gone on ride along with my probation officer to see some of the juveniles in their home to see how they're doing.
How does the court system collaborate with mental health professionals to address community needs?
I mean, most of the programs that we have in place are of collaboration with our, whether it be the Health and Human Services or the Fort Bend County Behavioral Health System. We have, the programs in place have been collaborated and have come through professional and legal um, collaboration. So Fort Bend County has done amazing things in developing these things. Dr. Almeida is actually on the state board appointed by the governor to deal with mental health issues.
What steps are being taken to reduce stigma around mental health in the justice system?
I think being open about it, I think being able to address it.
As you said earlier, that we should, there's nothing wrong to take therapies.
Yeah, every single person can do a therapy session.
Yeah.
And so being open and forefront about it, I think it's not, it could be any single thing that a person's in front of you. And addressing it head on is the only way to go about it, and taking those little steps, whether being open about it, talking about it, addressing it. I think that those all helps. I think those remove the stigma. We have May's Mental Health Awareness Month, and so I know across the country, I think people are actively now recognizing the need for our future, for our children, for us, where we can deal with mental health issues appropriately and effectively.
So, do judges receive any specific training to better understand mental health cases?
So the judicial conferences, there is a mental health conference which I go every year, and the county also had every month there was a mental health event held where professionals from across the board will come and speak and do, whether it be resources, what is happening out there, whether drugs are playing a role in this, whether how the legal system can effectively handle. There is a shortage of beds and mental health facilities in Texas. I had a case recently where I had to release a person because if they were, it was a Class B misdemeanor, and if they had already served close to the 180 days of confinement, that's a Class B max sentence somebody can receive for a Class B crime. And so I had to release the person from our jail because they had already maxed out the time that they could serve for that particular offense.
So, how does the court support families of individuals with mental health condition during legal proceedings?
We offer family therapy, family counseling, and that's one avenue. But the person in front of us is who we deal with, and those are the services that we give to them. If it's a juvenile, is when we have the family counseling. But individuals with mental health needs, we don't necessarily have resources available for the family as a whole. There are community programs available, but juveniles are where the family's involved, and we give them the counseling and the help that they need. There is definitely a lack of resources available for this. There is no way to deny that. There in Texas, in our country as a whole, there are lack of resources.
So, Judge Julie, I'm really curious to know, are the court proceedings public? And when it comes to cases related to mental health?
Oh yeah, all the court records are open records, public records. The only time that an individual does not have any availability to records in a court system is if it's a juvenile case.
So, are there programs to help individuals reintegrate into society after court proceedings or after mental health treatment?
So we have programs in place for adults as well as children to reintegrate them back to our society. And at the end of the day, that is our purpose. The whole purpose of the legal system is to rehabilitate, and we take that very seriously.
Judge Julie, thank you so much for coming, for giving us your precious time. It was a pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.